Hello and welcome everyone to our second of four educational webinars on the foremost promising and investment-ready industries of Ukraine. My name is Markevych and I'm the president of Crossways MK Consulting, an investment consulting company that attracts Canadian investments into Ukraine. To the right of me today, we have Deputy Minister of Economic Development and Trade, Mikhail Titarchuk. And to the left, we have Bohdan Leshchyshen. He's the director of CUTIS office. Today, we will focus on information and communication technology industry, where we'll try to outline how information technology has been the leading sector driving Ukraine's economic growth, from leading edge work in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity to major commercial initiatives in blockchain, fintech, and big data. So the plan today is we'll have a presentation, after which Mr. Leshchyshen will provide a brief overview of CUTIS initiatives, and then Deputy Minister Titarchuk will briefly outline key strategic initiatives of the government and will be available to answer some questions thereafter. With regards to the questions, I would ask you guys on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a chat. So if you can please enter the questions during the presentation, so we don't have to, if you can put them in the queue during the presentation, so we don't have to wait for them after, and they are ready to go.
This is one of the four sectoral presentations covering the most attractive sectors of Ukraine's economy in terms of investment potential. In the next several minutes, I will present Ukraine's IT and telecommunications sector. After that, we'll have a Q&A session. IT is a fast-growing branch of the Ukrainian economy with an annual double-digit growth rate. Each year brings a new record for the industry in terms of market volume. IT also accounts for a significant share of Ukrainian services export, primarily to the United States. The domestic IT market is estimated at $2 billion, while IT export has reached $3.6 billion, including outsourcing, which is not included into GDP. Ukraine ranks 11th among the top software developers of the world. The telecommunications market has shown more modest growth rates. It has not yet regained even half of the volume shown in 2008, $4.8 billion versus $1.9 billion in 2017, while the 2018 volume is estimated at $2.1 billion. The total share of IT and telecom in GDP reached 4.4% in 2017, which is the maximum share in recent years. The authorities that regulate the sector include the Verkhovna Rada, Ukrainian Parliament, the Cabinet of Ministers, the National Commission for Regulation of Communication and Informatization, and the State Service for Special Communication and Protection of Information. There are 29 national regulatory acts which form the regulatory framework of the market. Also, it should be noted that there is no excessive sector regulation in the software development market of Ukraine. The following international instruments apply to Ukraine's IT sector: the Cybercrime Convention, the Geneva Declaration of Principles and Action Plan, the Tunis Agenda for the Information Society, the recommendation of the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe on the protection of privacy of the Internet, 4 directives of the European Parliament and of the Council, namely on the legal protection of databases, on a procedure for the provision of information in the field of technical standards and regulations, as well as rules for the provision of services in the information society, on e-commerce, on privacy and electronic communications. Telecommunications in Ukraine are regulated by the law of Ukraine on telecommunications and the concept of telecommunications development in Ukraine. The state guarantees universal telecom services, namely voice telephony, facsimile, and data transmission at a level sufficient for internet access. 3 national mobile carriers, Kyivstar, Vodafone Ukraine and LifeCell, as well as the landline operator Telecom, are the main players in the sector. Software developers such as EPAM, Cyclum and Global Logic are the largest companies in IT. These companies are growing and profitable. Their net margins are up to 20% in telecom and up to 13% in IT. Ukraine follows global IT trends. The American IT giant Gartner defined top 10 trends for 2018, which included blockchain, artificial intelligence, cloud to the edge and others. Big data analysis also remains a promising field for IT market participants. A key goal for the Ukrainian authorities is to promote e-government development. It includes the one-stop shop principle by the United States Administration Services Portal as a single point of access to electronic services, electronic public procurement, electronic contracts and accounts, electronic auctions, open source infrastructure based on a single state web portal of open data, integrated with other open source web portals, public APIs, open standards and formats, information and communication technologies in the system of public administration, aimed at broadening the opportunities of citizens for their participation in this process, electronic applications and electronic petitions, open budget tools, public budget, online discussion of draft laws and regulations, and other tools for citizen participation in making management decisions, electronic forms of feedback on official government websites, and a single demographic register, and issuing of national passports in the form of an ID card, including mobile ID and bank ID. The Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine has defined the following medium-term priorities in the development of modern information, communication technologies and robotics: information and telecommunication infrastructure, grid and cloud technologies, computer training systems, systems for electronic business, intellectual modeling for solving problems in various branches of the economy, defense of the state, management of complex objects in ecology, biology and medicine, education, robotics and complex man-made systems. Newest technologies of information protection in telecommunications and information systems. Technologies of long-term storage of information and big data management, 5G technologies, Internet of Things, quantum computing and artificial intelligence systems. The IT industry of Ukraine has been growing at about 20% annually. The factors promoting the growth of the IT industry in Ukraine are the historical base, skilled personnel, and favorable conditions for the internet and external environment. Since Soviet times, Ukraine has been a center of development of software and technology solutions for data analysis and processing. An important role here is played by the level of technical education that has been developing in the country for decades. Today, Ukraine has around 16,000 graduates of technical specialties annually and holds a leading position in the world as measured by the number of certified IT professionals. Leading Ukrainian universities, with business support, have launched educational programs in the most promising areas of information technology, data and computer science, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things. As of the end of 2017, there were about 116,000 professionals engaged in information technology, excluding customer support center staff, managers and employees with non-technical backgrounds. This is the largest number of developers in Central and Eastern Europe. Ukraine is also the global leader in the number of Unity 3D game developers and C++ engineers, and it is second in terms of the number of JavaScript, Scala and Magento developers. The domestic conditions that have a positive impact on the development of IT in Ukraine include fiscal policy, the availability of VAT incentives for R&D and exports, as well as tax benefits for sole proprietorships, as an alternative to the methods of stimulating the industry that have long existed in neighboring countries. One of the key trends during 2017 was the exodus of Russian companies from the market. In May, President Petro Poroshenko signed a decree which enacted the decision of the National Security and Defense Council to update the list of sanctions against a number of Russian companies, including Yandex, 1S, and Mail.ru, social networks of Kontakte and Odnoklassniki, as well as large developers of antivirus software such as Kaspersky Lab and Dr. Web. The sanctions have further strengthened the competitive position of Ukrainian IT products and their development prospects. Another growth factor is the cybersecurity strategy of Ukraine as adopted by the Cabinet of Ministers on March 10, 2017. Crucial to success is also the promotion of the development and implementation of domestic software, including antivirus programs and accounting software. In addition, experts predict an increase in demand for services in the cybersecurity sector after the 3 attacks of WannaCry, Petya A, and their derivatives during 2017. The potential of the broadband access market in Ukraine can be estimated at 19 million users, which is 14 million more than today. In proportion to the growth in revenue, the size of the Ukrainian broadband access market in monetary terms will amount to $880 million. In Telecom, one of the key events of the year was a tender for licenses of 4G in the 1800 MHz range, which was conducted by the National Commission for the State Regulation of Communication and Informatization on March 6, 2018. According to estimates by telecom operators, at least $800 million will be invested in the Ukrainian economy for the development of 4G telecommunications. Exemptions and privileges can also exert a positive impact on the industry. In particular, in early 2018, the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine approved the concept for the development of the digital economy and society of Ukraine for 2018 through 2020, envisaging practical measures for normative, organizational, and methodological support, the development of digital technology exports, and the development of digital competencies and skills of citizens. Such measures will provide new growth drivers for the development of information technologies in Ukraine. The main objective of the concept is to implement an accelerated digital development scenario. Perhaps the biggest advantage of running R&D in Ukraine is the lower cost. The median salary of a senior Java developer in Ukraine is just $40,000 per year, slightly higher than in Asia, but lower than in the neighboring Central European countries. Considering the fact that a developer of similar expertise would cost on average $100,000 per year in the US, the benefit is obvious. To add to that, running an office for a team of 30 in Ukraine would cost around $1 million per year, including rent and salaries, which is 3 times less than in the United States. If you decide to open an office in Ukraine, you won't be a pioneer. In fact, the country already hosts teams from Boeing, Ericsson, Siemens, Oracle, and Magento. Such tech giants as Snapchat, Opera Software, and Wargaming also operate offices in Ukraine. The country also ranks among the world's leaders in terms of outsourcing. Hiring in Ukraine is what major sectors are already doing. Ukraine is home to a number of world-class product companies, including Riedel, Grammarly, Jubal, Deposit Photos, Template Monster, GitLab, and others. Ukraine enjoys a leading position in freelance IT outsourcing among East European countries, controlling 33% of the market. According to estimates by the IT Ukraine Association, which unites outsourcing companies, exports grew to $3.6 billion in 2017, or 7% of total Ukrainian exports, and are estimated at $4.5 billion in 2018. Currently, the main consumer of Ukrainian IT services is the United States. About 70% of the industry's exports are sold to the United States. Other significant importers are the UK, Germany and Israel. The IT sector also accounts for 62% of Ukrainian exports of services to Canada. The growth of export potential of the IT industry has been strongly encouraged by its geographical expansion. Ukrainian IT companies have opened new development offices in Kiev, Lviv, Odessa, as well as in Poland, Belarus, Germany, Spain, Malaysia and Malta. However, there is a huge shortage of IT personnel. According to market experts, about 100,000 programmers export their services, while 10 to 20,000 vacancies still remain open. More than 70% of Ukrainian IT services exports involve custom software development. About 30% is consulting services, business process analysis, R&D, and other types of services. Ukraine ranks 7th in terms of quality and efficiency of freelance workers and 24th on the list of the most attractive countries for outsourcing. This year, 18 IT companies that were founded or operate in Ukraine have entered the world top 100 list. This is 5 more than the year before. Ukraine and Canada have many a success story to tell in the IT sector. For example, Yush Incorporated is a full-service IT project management consulting firm from Ontario with an office in Kiev. The company is focused on services of software development and system integration, namely on its flagship quality assurance product, QualityGate. Another example is Borsh Ventures that has joined forces with the International Finance Corporation to invest $500,000 to create ePharma 360, a platform that addresses farm business management needs and the credit risk assessment requirements of banks. The Ukrainian IT market leader EPAM provides complete IT outsourcing for the Canadian Tire website, and Quattro Technologies is a leading provider of custom outsourced software development services and product solutions for the ICT sector. In 2017, Ukrainian IT companies raised about $200 million worth of venture capital. The most successful case is Grammarly, a cloud-based English language writing enhancement platform. $110 million was invested in the company last year. Bitfury, a diversified blockchain company, and PetCube, a company providing hardware and software solutions for pets, also got significant investments, $30 million and $10 million respectively. Today, Ukrainian IT companies are strengthening their positions in the most promising technological areas: data science, augmented reality and virtual reality, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and can boast of a large number of successfully implemented projects in these areas. It should be noted that setting up an R&D office in Ukraine is not so complicated. The first practical step is hiring a lawyer. Then an investor should choose the type of business entity they're going to run. It can be a local branch, a representative office, an open joint stock company, or a sole proprietorship. Then the investor should learn a bit about the Ukrainian taxation system. If your business entity is eligible for simplified taxation, you will pay a flat income tax of 15%. The corporate income tax rate is 18%, while dividends and interest are subject to a 15% tax. Additionally, there is a unified social security contribution deducted from each employee's salary in the amount of 22%. After the registration is completed, one can proceed with hiring personnel and growing an R&D team. In IT industry, it is easy to switch to other products or services due to changes in the needs and geographical segments of the market, as well as to transfer the core of the software development team to another jurisdiction or to sell the business to another owner. Exit from a telecom company may be made, as a rule, through the sale of corporate rights to a strategic investor or a virtual provider of modern digital services. Such service providers offer a certain package of services using their own equipment but based on the network infrastructure owned by the mobile carrier. It should be noted that the IT and telecom sector has important advantages over other industries as part of digital transformation because it does not depend on national borders. Since 2015, enterprises have had the opportunity to participate in the European program Horizon 2020 in order to receive grant funding for their innovations, and this window opportunity should be used effectively. Internationalization of R&D in IT and telecom enjoys both state and European support in Ukraine.
Mr. Leshchyshen, if you can please provide a brief overview of the CUTIS initiative in Ukraine.
The Canadian government has funded the Canada-Ukraine Trade and Investment Support Project, the CUTIS project, with a $14 million 5-year project grant, which started in 2016. The project is assisting Ukrainian companies in developing bilateral trade opportunities in some chosen sectors through trade shows and B2B meetings with Canadian buyers and distributors. In addition, CUTIS is working with Ukrainian companies looking for strategic investment partners in Canada. To date, the CUTIS project has introduced Canadian confectionery and furniture companies through a trade show format to Canadian distributors and buyers in Montreal and Toronto. In August 2018, Ukrainian shoe and textile and apparel manufacturers will be coming to Toronto to showcase their products at trade shows, while the IT companies will be coming to Canada in 2018. On the investment side, the CUTIS project is focusing on the following sectors: agriculture, infrastructure and logistics, energy generation, and supply, and IT and telecom. I believe that the recent signing of the free trade agreement between Canada and Ukraine should help in making Canadian companies more comfortable to invest in Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bohdan. Deputy Minister, please, a couple words.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to say that good governance attracts investments, and for a time being, when we talk about macroeconomic stabilization in Ukraine, what is important, and Ukraine shows quite positive results. Since 2016, GDP is growing. Of course, we made a proper forecast until 2020, and we will have like about 4% GDP. But it's not enough. And what can speed up the process of growth of GDP is our digital economy, which is one of the priorities for a time being under the Ministry of Economic Development Trade of Ukraine, and I would like to talk about this a little bit more. So for a time being, recently in Ukraine in 2018, in January, the government of Ukraine approved the serious document which called Digital Economy for the next 3 years. It's quite ambitious plan with a proper action plan, and one of the principal points is that Ukraine should be covered at more than 80% of the territory by the broadband, which means with the high speed of the internet. And of course, when we talk about broadband, we also have to understand that Ukraine has a quite good potentiality in terms of placing in an industrial 4.0 revolution. First of all, in Ukraine, we have more than about 5,000 IT companies for a time being. So it means that 100,000 high educated IT experts. And of course, ecosystem is a huge potential in Ukraine. And of course, when we talk about investments, we have to understand clearly that export of Ukrainian service, it's number 3 now in terms of telecommunication, IT, and it's about $1.8 billion, and it's growing continuously. Of course, we have to understand that the economy is growing based on innovations, technology, incubators, clusters, and of course, it's based on the ecosystem. For a time being, the government of Ukraine seriously implementing and start the process with blockchain technologies, and we have to understand that blockchain, it's a trust, and the reason that blockchain in unite with abilities of fintech allows. So first of all is to enter our national companies to the international market, get strategic investments, provides a clear function of economy, keep qualified workers in the country, and of course provides the clearness of the public registers. And the main goal is to increase the development of financial innovation sector, which promotes financial inclusivity, and because it's of serious attention from the government to this sector. When we talk about innovations, startups, and digital economy, we have seriously have to consider not just about broadband 4G, which already was implemented in Ukraine, and satellite internet. We have to think about intellectual property, which is also under big reform, and we do have a quite successful approval for the draft bills per the Parliament of Ukraine, because serious foreign direct investments, of course, links how is in terms of IPR security in the country. I would like to mention as well that for a time being, when we talk about blockchain and fintech, we also understand that such changes in the world, like mobile ID, bank ID, and Ukraine also. So in any case, Ukraine even now have all the opportunities and elements for digitalization. The principal point is that physical infrastructure develops day to day. For the time being, we have, let's say, in 2008 was 24% of Ukrainians who had an access to internet. Now it's more than 60%, and we have an ambitious plan until 2020 it should be 80%. The second point is electronic identification. Step by step is introduced. As I mentioned, it's mobile, the bank ID. Third principal point is the main motive force in digital economics. It's a human resources, human capital. For the time being, we have knowledge, talents, experience, and intellect of our Ukrainians. And let's say that Ukrainians showed a serious results of startups, of innovations in the world, and without any doubt, we can say that we can make it more progressive. And when we talk about support from the government, we have to mention that historically this is the first year where Ukrainian government actually approved in the budget to support startups. So first we have under Invest office is under government of Ukraine. We have a program, and also we have a program under Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. And at the end, I would like to mention that we can seriously consider about cooperation and foreign direct investments, also based not just direct investment, also on public-private partnership. And such model we think is very actual for the time being. And in terms of legislation, everything is ready, so we can start using it. And of course, digitalization, innovations, it's not a question of the future, it's a question of today. And Ukraine can positions ourselves, on a high rank. So I finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. A couple questions here. I'll start with the first one. So how can you work with a Canadian investor to manage the political risk, country growth initiatives, policies over long term?
Actually, I would say that all our life is a risk. And when we talk about investments, we have to understand one thing. First of all, we do have a macroeconomic stabilization. We do have the government which is on the board in more than 2 years. And all foreign direct investments is one of the priority for the whole government, for the Prime Minister, and for the first Vice Prime Minister. I think the biggest guarantee is a result in terms of increasing that foreign direct investments starting from 2016 are seriously increasing.
Thank you very much. The second one would be, are the Ukrainian tech companies open to going public on the Canadian stock market to access gross capital?
As soon as such companies are serious and they're showing, let's say, tremendous result, why not? I think we're open for any solution which can benefit both sides, Canada and Ukraine.
Quite a few in here in queue. So I'll ask one. So recently there's been a big Canadian institutional investor opening up an IT center in Lviv. Can you comment on that and provide if there is any other such centers in the country?
Ukraine is big, and Lviv is not just one progressive city in terms of IT and innovation. And frankly, I had a chance to be presented recently in June in Lviv and to open, actually to put a capsule. It's a mutual investments where actually Canada also participated. It's about $160 million. It's just the start. Actually, the project is, I think, a couple of billion, maybe 1-2 billion. So for a time being, we've shown it's one of the engines. So our cities, it's engines, quite serious engines, which really motivate and show the result. Of course, it's not just Lviv. We have quite big potential: Kyiv, Odessa, Dnipro, Kharkiv. So why this showing such result? Because they do have ecosystem and ecosystems. It's universities, polytechnic universities, and one of the best IT experts, I could say, frankly, the Ukrainians.
Thank you very much. And the last question here would be oh, we have one more. But as a Canadian investor, what would you say are the top 3 benefits in investing in the IT sector in Ukraine?
I think one of the biggest benefit is that IT sector, they do have very friendly relation with the government. So the government don't create any barriers. So we understand that the market has to be open, concurrent, and of course the principal government position in this case is very simple: is to create conditions for your business. And as for the past 10 years, we could say that in terms of global innovation index, Ukraine is top 50. It means that the government support, the government also seriously considers that IT is one of the part of our growth for GDP. And of course, IT sector in Ukraine can keep our experts, scientists inside our country.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. Toronto GTA area is taking a leadership position in blockchain and artificial intelligence. Are there currently any partnerships that you might be aware between startups in Ukraine and Canada that you can speak of?
Frankly, let's say when dealing with business, it's not so important for the government to know about it. But of course, we're interested in serious cooperation. And from my side and from our ministry side and from the government, we will do for any new, let's say, inclusive cooperation, which can benefit both sides. And for us, Canada is one of the examples, actually, in terms of IT development. Yeah, sorry, technical problem, but we solved it. For a time being, what I would like to mention is that we seriously understood that whether the government has to support the startups, not just by laws, of course, on financial part. And for a time being this year, we want to test one of our pilot model, how we can support startups for all our scientists, smart students, because we see quite high dynamic, and we would like not to lose it. And of course, we can use our patent office in terms of security, the intellectual property, because our state institution, Patent, one of the serious patent office who has authorization for international expertise. Only 22 countries has such certificate for the next 3 years.
One more last question. So further to the earlier question about the Canadian investors, have any Ukrainian tech firms already been listed on Canadian Equity Exchange for direct access to Canadian investors? If so, which ones?
Actually, sorry, I'm not a library. I can't remember everything. But we will revert with the answer a little bit later because first of all, we have to check. I know that Ukrainian companies, they participate in stock exchange platforms in the United States. I'm not sure about Canada, probably.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pan Bohdan, Mr. Deputy Minister. Thank you, everybody, for participating. We will follow up with everybody with an email in a day or two. Thanks again. Please join us tomorrow for another session. Thank you. Goodbye.